12 AD, a child was born in the heart of Rome. But no one could imagine that he would become one of the most brutal humans who ever lived. Between the years 37 and 41, he ruled as the Emperor of Rome for years, being raised by parents who were already considered disturbed, and growing up in a ruthless environment was enough to shape him into a monster. His first strange behavior began with his obsession about losing his hair. He never allowed anyone to look down on him and forced everyone around him to shave their heads. But believe me, compared to what he would later do, this was nothing. He ordered the heads of God statues from all across the empire to be removed and replaced with his own face. And of course, this was only the beginning. He proclaimed himself a god and ordered people to sacrifice to him. His corruption had no limits. He impregnated his own sister, but before the child was born, he ordered her abdomen to be cut open so the fetus could be removed and declared that unborn child a demigod. When his sister Drusilla died, he declared a mourning period, during which Roma citizens were banned from laughing, bathing, eating as a family, or speaking to one another in public. Despite everything he did, his nicknames may sound ironic. Father of the country and the armies, the greatest and kindest ruler, the faithful man. But the best part, he gave all of these titles to himself. At that time, Roman emperors were the most powerful and untouchable humans on earth. This intoxication of power allowed a weak mind like Caligula to commit unimaginable acts. If you made eye contact with him, consider it a death sentence, and not a quick one. He had engineers design special torture devices that could remove almost every bone in the body while the victim was still alive. He especially enjoyed watching these tortures during dinner, and sometimes tasting the victim's flesh. To refill the empty state treasury after his reckless spending, he found a simple solution. He executed wealthy citizens and confiscated their property. But even that wasn't enough, so he came up with another idea. He forced the wives and daughters of senators and Roman elites to work in a massive brothel. During the opening ceremony, he addressed the people with these words: "People of Rome, look at the gifts your God has given you. I give you the families of the Senate. You may enjoy them however you wish for a small fee." Caligula despised the Senate. His only true friend was his horse, which he planned to make a senator. He even had a private palace built for it. Roman historians also recorded that he sometimes slept beside his horse. He hated senators so much that he forced some of them to run beside his horse for hours. Sometimes he humiliated them by stripping them naked, dressing them as women, and making them dance. He especially enjoyed targeting overweight senators. He found them hilarious. He would randomly execute senators and later summon them to meetings as if they were still alive. When they didn't show up, he spread rumors that they had committed suicide. Caligula loved watching gladiator fights, but instead of trained warriors, he forced elderly, disabled, sick, or defenseless people into the arena. Sometimes he gathered dozens of dwarfs and ordered them to fight to the death. Exotic animal fights, lions, elephants, and more were common spectacles in Rome. But Caligula preferred selecting helpless citizens from the audience and throwing them into the arena. But an official told him that feeding wild animals with livestock was too expensive. Caligula ordered that they be fed with prisoners instead. He personally chose the victims using bizarre criteria such as, "From that bald man to that bald man." Yet his greatest fear was being forgotten. Because during his reign, nothing catastrophic happened, not a war loss, not a plague, not an earthquake, not a fire. He envied earlier emperors whose names were tied to disasters. He prayed for something terrible to happen just so history would remember him. He dressed as every god and goddess, walked the palace, wearing the clothes of Aphrodite, and even declared war on Neptune. His army marched to the coast, and instead of treasure or prisoners, They collected seashells as spoils of war. One day, he wanted a reason to execute a general named Bricus. But Bricus was honorable and loyal. Caligula looked him in the eye and said, "You are too honest, Bricus, therefore you cannot be a true Roman. I sentence you for treason." A statement so powerful that it feels like every dictator in history spoke through him. Late one night, he summoned 3 former consuls to the palace. Expecting death, they arrived trembling only to be forced to dance with him. The shock must have been unimaginable. Caligula carried no trace of goodness. He was the embodiment of cruelty and corruption. People hated him so deeply that multiple uprisings erupted against him, and he was pelted with stones in public. Rome's streets ran with blood. Either he would die or Rome would. His jokes were amusing only to himself. He urinated into senators' food. He forced them to eat the cooked meat of his executed victims, and only after they finished he revealed the truth, then burst into laughter as they vomited. Before him, Emperor Tiberius had no heir and adopted Caligula. Even as a child, he showed signs of brutality. He loved watching executions, walked around dressed in strange costumes, and held bizarre parties full of horrors, including forced cannibalism. Tiberius once described him that viper for the Romans, a serpent for the world. History proved him right. His real name was Gaius Julius Caesar Augustus Germanicus, but soldiers gave him the nickname Caligula, meaning little boot, because as a child, he walked around military camps wearing miniature soldier uniforms. When he brought his horse to the Senate and declared, "Here is your new consul," it was the final straw. In January 41 AD, after a sporting event, a group of guards attacked him in the underground corridors. He was stabbed more than 30 times. Some body parts were fed to dogs. The rest was buried in a shallow grave. His wife and daughter were also murdered. After his death, the Senate attempted to erase him from Roman history, destroy his statues, and restore the Republic. Thousands of books have been written about him. Many horror movie villains were inspired by him. The most famous film about him is Caligula, directed by Tinto Brass. Historians and experts believe he suffered from multiple disorders, including epilepsy and schizophrenia. The image you see now is a reconstruction of his real face, based on statues made during his rule. His hair appears thick because artists of his time feared him so much that they sculpted him with a full head of hair. And believe this, everything you've heard is only 1/10 of what he truly did, because the law does not allow us to tell the rest. If you want more content, subscribe to my channel. Enjoy the video.